Thanks for having me today. Oh, here we go. As Nicole said, I ran the Creative Mornings Brisbane chapter, and whenever I invited someone to participate as a guest speaker at Creative Mornings Brisbane, I would provide them with a brief that included tips like try brainstorming less literal ways to interpret the theme, like invest for this month. Share with the audience something that you wish you knew sooner. Give them actionable steps to implement this advice. Baby photos are a real hit. This isn't me. I wish this was me. This is Zaza. She's like my favorite thing on the internet, and if you don't already know, red carpet girls on Instagram. But anyway, we'll get back to her. This is me. Yeah, not quite as cool, but I still think pretty cute. I don't know. And I also told them not to be afraid to swear, make it personable. But when it came time for me to prepare my talk, my own brief didn't help me at all. I realised that, I'm no stranger to the Creative Mornings stage, and I'd been on the sidelines of so many Creative Mornings talks for some amazing creative MVPs. But when push came to shove, I realised that this was really hard. Like, I took my speakers for granted because, I got up, introduced them, and that's all I had to do. But now I have to speak about myself and be in the spotlight. So, kudos to all the speakers that speak at Creative Mornings. I realised that during my years as host, instead of listening, learning, and documenting what made a juicy talk, I was usually occupied with things like microphone volume, really boring stuff. I was like had a haze over me. So instead of drawing inspiration from my experience to prepare for this morning's talk, I turned to God. The almighty God of why, Simon Sinek, is, I would say, my God. And he has a Skillshare tutorial on delivering presentations called How to Share Ideas That Inspire Action. And in this talk, or in this tutorial, Sinek preaches to come with a spirit of giving, not taking, that this interaction is not a transaction, and to show up wanting nothing in return. And I felt like this advice was not only great advice for preparing a talk, but it is the perfect analogy for what Creative Mornings globally stands for, and also I feel like a perfect description for the role of host, and kind of the mindset that it took for me to land that role in the first place in Brisbane. He also did say to never put words on your slides, but fuck it, I'm a graphic designer, so I need some type up there. Creative Mornings has its own global manifesto, but I feel like this could substitute as, the remix. To come with a spirit of giving, not taking, and to show up wanting nothing in return is the Creative Mornings redefinition of investment. Typically, to invest is to devote your time, effort, energy, money into a particular undertaking with the expectation of a worthwhile result. In business, ROI, or return on investment, measures gains or losses generated relative to said investment. It's about making it back. Creative Mornings, on the other hand, is about community. It's about doing cool shit with cool people, and it's about good coffee. I haven't had any coffee yet because I was so stressed, though. But I'm sure it's good. If we remastered the original Creative Mornings manifesto sans community, it would be very awkward. We're here to celebrate with you. We believe in face-to-face connections, in hugs and high fives. This doesn't look like an event I'd want to attend. This isn't cute. I first became a small cog in the Creative Mornings engine, as Cole said, as an attendee in Auckland, my hometown. And when I moved to Australia, a new city meant no new friends unless I went out and made some, and I figured I might find my people and a feeling of familiarity at my local Creative Mornings. And that wouldn't have been a problem if I'd moved to Sydney or Perth or Melbourne, but Brisbane was still doing this. And that was also me. And the blank Creative Mornings Twitter page that I had found when I moved to Brisbane was in fact confirmed fake and taken down by Creative Mornings headquarters when I brought it to their attention. That was my glimpse of hope that it was coming soon, but that was not the case. And the confirmation that the event had not been successfully applied for or started in Brisbane made me think maybe I could be that person. But before I'd even kind of breathed in the direction of even attempting that goal, I had the premonition of potential failure, and my ego could not take that L. So I contemplated this goal for about a year or so until fate would have me attend what I can only describe as a very full-on self-development course. And anyone who's been will know what I'm talking about as soon as I say this line, if you have been. Their key takeaway is that life is empty and meaningless. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's good if you don't because it's stressful, but initially this statement for me was really hard to comprehend. I'm a Taurus, and Taurians tend to set long-term goals that influence everything that they do. And they're goals driven. So it's in the stars for me, don't cry. It's in the stars for me to invest myself in my goals and measure my success when I achieve those goals. And if life was in fact empty and meaningless, which they were telling me, what was the point of it all? The point is that we as humans make meaning out of thin air in order to feel safe and make sense of the world around us. But when it's all said and done, there really is no one true meaning. We associate and enforce our own meaning, the meaning that best suits us to make us feel safe. When we succeed, typically we make it mean that we're awesome, and when we fail, we make it mean that we're shit. And some people can combat this automatic human instincts by making failure the tuition that you pay for future success. And that is a very logical and a very productive approach. But for me, in order to achieve this goal, personally, I had to make failure meaningless. I had to make it mean nothing, and that's where this line kind of helped me. So living a meaningless life wasn't a life void of long-term goals, it was goals detached from the outcome. And once I made peace with the possibility of failure, all of the perceived risk that I had around this goal kind of dissolved. And I was willing to, invest my time, effort, energy, and money into this particular undertaking without the expectation of a worthwhile result, unconcerned with my, return on investment. Ultimately, for the first time, I was prepared to show up, wanting nothing in return, just simply show up. Sitting in that conference room at the seminar, I had the epiphany that if I applied to start Creative Mornings and I wasn't accepted, it meant nothing. If I was accepted to start Creative Mornings and I started the event and no one showed up, I could make that mean nothing too and move on to my next goal completely unscathed. And when others projected their, forecast of failure on me, guess what I made that mean? Nothing, nada. In particular, I made it mean nothing about me, my potential, or my ability. I'd still be a bad bitch, and I wouldn't die. That's what I told myself. And when my application was accepted and Brisbane made its debut on the Creative Mornings list in all its purple glory, people did show up. To laneways, to retail spaces, to plant shops, to breweries. I hate that word, breweries. I practiced that so many times. Dance studios, furniture showrooms, commercial kitchens, art galleries, pottery houses. We changed our venue every month, which kept it really fun. Wedding venues and shared workspaces. Basically, wherever we were crazy enough to lead them, people followed. And not only did they follow, and not only did they show up, but month after month, tickets were gone within minutes, sometimes even seconds. This was my most frequently asked question. And amongst those who did show up were two people whose opinions had weighed really heavily on me during my application process. The first person, Matt Haynes, who one of the volunteers from this team actually mentioned him to me this morning, and I was like, oh, PTSD. Matt was he's amazing, but he was initially not shy in sharing his complete disbelief both in me and the viability of the event when I first met him. And he eventually became my first speaker once I was accepted and my biggest advocate. And as the design conference, the founder of the design conference, he always gave me his very honest opinion about each event, which I really appreciated and needed. And he also gave us the opportunity to be a side event of the design conference 3 years in a row, which was really cool. In the early days of contemplating achieving this goal, I actually reached out to Flynn Tracy, who was the then Sydney host, and I asked him for any contacts in Brisbane, and Matt was the person that he gave me. So I kind of have ties to Sydney since day dot, which I appreciate. Thanks, Flynn. He's not here, but we can tell him. My second skeptic, Mitch, became my event coffee guy. There he is up in the corner. I'm kind of unsure about what this guy's thinking. He's either like deep in contemplative thought or he's asleep with his eyes open, I'm not sure. And then he became Bay. And eventually a speaker too, just for good measure. When the host role turned from dream to reality, for me, my idea of showing up wanting nothing in return really gained a new dimension. To expand on the traits I listed earlier, I'll read this. Taurus are so goal-orientated that they often form a notion that the world revolves around them. And when Taurus do a good job, they expect a reward. And I don't know who's the Tauruses in the room. You're all like, oh, I don't want to put my hand up. I'm sure there's more than 4, but that's fine. At first, showing up wanting nothing in return, as I mentioned before, was showing up for my goals and making failure mean nothing. But now showing up wanting nothing in return meant kind of elevating the experience of others, focusing on elevating that experience and basically busting my ass without the need for external recognition or, that external recognition that I kind of was always used to. They say that your best investment is in yourself, and I know a lot of people wrote, myself on their tags, which is awesome. But in order to know balance in my Taurian mind, I had to experience the opposite. I was used to investing in myself, and I had to do the opposite to know that balance. Ultimately, it was coming with the spirit of giving, not taking. Like Simon said. I just really wanted to mention him again so I could flick between these 2 screenshots. I love it. Nicole once posted on her Instagram that hosting CreativeMornings Sydney is not always easy, but it's always worth it. Amen to that. It was never easy, but it was always made easy thanks to my best mates and my volunteer team. I've got 2 that are here today, which is cool. They live here now. They left me. But they always went above and beyond and, came to my rescue in CreativeMornings catastrophes, of which there were many, monthly. And because of my team, there were also some really awesome moments to celebrate. This is Tina Roth Eisenberg. She's the mama of CreativeMornings. She started it in Brooklyn back in 2008. And at the CreativeMornings Summit, which is actually where Nicole and I met, it took us flying all the way across the world to meet in New York. She asked me to stand and she applauded the Brisbane chapter for making it always look like a party. In some cases, it literally was a party. For our second birthday, we hosted a Creative Evenings beer pong tournament. I can see Michael laughing. In collaboration with the head of Bailey Nelson, Scott Triana, and a Sydney-based brewery, Beer Creative. I just stole everyone from you guys because Scott's from Sydney too. This day was so jam-packed full of problems that I didn't even get changed into the sporting whites dress code that I had enforced. So sometimes, prioritizing the experience of others meant showing up out of dress code and basically fading into the background. But it was always easier to kind of watch the fun unfold and appreciate all of our hard work from back there anyway. And Tina appreciated our hard work all the way from Brooklyn. But come to think of it, she could have also been referring to our craft event, where Monkey Monkey Shake Shake played a Splendor in the Grass set, including some of their hits like More Maple Syrup and Don't Eat the Bark, in a photography studio at 7:30 a.m. in the morning to a entertained but highly perplexed audience. Yeah, we had a lot of fun in Brisbane. And naturally the event became a huge part of my identity and my purpose. So when I first considered stepping down from the role, it felt like I was failing not only myself, but the community that I'd come to love. And then I remembered it meant nothing. In particular, it meant nothing about me, my ability, or my potential. I'd still be a bad bitch and no one would die. Our team had fueled, the engine of generosity back to back, month after month. That me. I don't ride a bike, but he made me ride a bike in that video. And I was running on empty. The event was my baby, but once I found someone equally passionate to take over, I finally had the time to apply the lessons that I'd learnt from the event. To recap, what Simon said is indeed impeccable advice for preparing a talk, but I'd go as far to say it's some pretty good relationship advice too. And when you're in a working relationship with the person you love, you take all of the advice you can get. No matter how high your Virgo Taurus compatibility score is on Google, that shit is put to the test when you go into business together. My mum and dad, Annie and Jeff, were a really great example of this when I was growing up. They ran a landscaping business called JC Paving, which is the origin of my nickname, because my dad's initials is also JC. They ran that business for 25 years, which is also the same amount of time I've been alive. And recently when I asked Mum, how her and Dad made it all work, I was expecting the mum thing, a myriad of cliches about, it was so hard, etc., etc. But Annie, she hit me with, it was so easy. It was a breeze. We were such a good team. We trusted each other. We never had any issues. And I was like, lol, what? I needed you to tell me that it's hard and, I've got to get through it. But, totally disheartening advice, but that's cool. But when I got off the phone, I thought I attribute a fair portion of their harmony to the fact that they had completely different roles in their business. Mum was the accountant and Dad was the landscaper, and they trusted each other because my dad couldn't send an invoice and my mum couldn't pave a driveway, although she probably could if she wanted to. Mitch and I, on the other hand, have basically the same skills and the same job. And our harmony can be easily disrupted when we have opposing creative opinions. And I tell myself that if his idea wins, then mine loses. But this is not a transaction. Transactional thinking, like if you win, I lose, or if you do this, what do I get, or what's in it for me, is never a winning formula. And in order to live up to our very name of not two, which in Buddhist philosophy represents non-dualism, or in its simplest form, one undivided without a second, we have to remind ourselves and each other all the time that we're on the same team paving the same driveway. So where does this come into relationships that are, in fact, transactional? How do we come with a spirit of giving with our clients? Last year, with Creative Mornings off of my plate, Mitch and I were no longer bound to Brisbane, so we decided to move to the sunny coast. And we did this because we really wanted to invest in our future and save money towards building our tiny home in New Zealand, which is the goal that we're working on at the moment. So we moved in with his parents to save some money. But it's awesome, it's great. No, I love them. I feel nervous all of a sudden. They're not here, it's okay. And now I'm lost. And with the absence of rent, issuing invoices and making money kind of wasn't a necessity. So we took that as an opportunity to work on our business instead of in our business. And when we really stepped back and did this, we realized one major flaw in how we were operating. And it was something that we'd never been taught, during our design degrees and all of the extra learning that we'd done in the design industry. Designers are service providers, not artists. And we were not acting accordingly. The communication model of art is typically artist, art and audience. The artist in this scenario, they might care what the audience thinks, but it's not imperative to their process, and it probably won't influence their outcome. If we put a design lens on this, it might look like designer, design, client. When we as designers adopt an artist mentality, we're more likely designing for ourselves, the gaze of other designers that we want to impress, like our design peers, and potentially a page in our portfolio, and not necessarily for the needs of our client and, more importantly, their audience. And because we, consider our design to be our art and our art to be an extension of ourselves, we wear our heart on our canvas. We take criticism personally. We dread feedback. In fact, we fucking hate feedback. Designers hate feedback. We're reluctant to make changes. We're adamant that we know best. And we diagnose our clients with bad taste, and we, convince ourselves that they exist only to sabotage the masterpiece we've bestowed upon them. I just wanted to play you guys this 1-minute clip from a Christo live stream that I think just sums this up so well. I just won't do it justice.
So you asked this question about taste and people having bad taste. Well, who's the king that said that you have the champion of the good taste, and we certify you as having the best taste? Even amongst designers, we can argue with each other, highly educated in the graphic arts, right? That we can say, well, your taste is not good and my taste is good. And so what is that? It's just purely subjective. Let's understand something. When you agree to do something for somebody, you make either an implied or an explicit exchange in value. What's your exchange? Your exchange is, I'm going to give you a really creative product that's going to solve your problem. And their exchange is, I'm going to give you money. Well, are they giving you money for you to make your art? Or are they giving you money to solve their problem? So that's the first part. So we need to understand that. We're in a business and it's a transaction. Now, if the idea of receiving money for your art feels cheap to you and feels crass, go be a fine artist. That's totally okay. But we're in a commercial art exchange, and it's a service just like anything else.
We love Christo. So designers are service providers, not artists. We may have the skills, but our clients pay our bills. They invest in us to invest in them so that their audience or their customers will do the same. And to truly, serve our clients, which is literally the job that we're paid for, is to be genuinely invested in their success. And no one had really ever taught us this. Mitch and I had to learn to remove our creative ego from the equation and make the opinion of the audience imperative to our outcome. We have to invest in a process of co-creating strategic design solutions that are objective, not subjective. We as designers have to be more than just pretty makers and order takers. That's another thing that Christo says, which I love. We have to remind ourselves that we're on the same team as the client paving the same damn driveway. As Blair Enns says, in every transaction you should aim for a double handshake moment where both parties come to the table, willing to invest in each other, coming with a spirit of giving, and both leave happy. Further to that, we realize that we have to be prepared to suggest solutions that benefit our client and do so in a generous spirit with zero expectations. This might mean, turning down a client in favor of, recommending a friend who might be able to do that job better for whatever reason. Or it might mean telling a client who is willing to spend thousands of dollars on a new, brand identity, that, save your money. You actually need to focus on, the flaws in your purchase funnel, for example, and come back to me when that's not such an issue. Selling isn't about convincing, persuading, or manipulating. It's about serving others. It's about not having a hidden agenda, because people can sense that. Selling is about being curious, and our task as designers, as service providers, is to provide the client with information so that they can make the best decision for themselves. I'll quote the almighty God of why once more. Doing business is like dating. It's sitting across from someone at a table hoping to close a deal. If you lead with manipulations, that relationship will become hard to maintain. So now that Mitch and I have established that client work isn't the place for us to experiment with or express our artistry, the only time that we indulge in, self-expressive art is when we are our own clients. And the best thing about personal projects is that they are the perfect playground for failure. You can't let anyone else down. And in the case of my book, making failure mean nothing is the only reason that this 8-year-long story is still kicking. And I'll give you the long story short. But first, let me take you back to the 80s for a quick history lesson. In 1984, the Nike Air Jordan was designed to be worn exclusively on court by Chicago Bulls rookie Michael Jordan. And in 1984, the 51% rule was an NBA policy that mandated that each player on the court had to wear shoes that were at least 51% white. Now, the first Nike Air Jordans were black and red. And because of this breach of policy, the sneaker was outlawed by the NBA. Rumour has it that every time Jordan walked on the court wearing the banned sneakers, he was fined $5,000. But that's a pretty small price tag for Nike to pay for that kind of marketing.
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them. Air Jordans from Nike.
The 51% rule was lifted in the late 2000s, and by the time 2012 rolled around, the Nike Air Jordan collection had grown to 33 sneakers in countless colorways, and now even more so. In 2012, I was a teenager, 10 toes deep in sneaker culture, and I took a bookbinding elective at university where we learned to make hand-bound books. It was so cool. We had an amazing facility there. And I really wanted to make something that would pay homage to this obsession that I had. And so I came up with the idea for an illustrated kids counting book that used Nike Air Jordan 1 to 10 as a visual aid. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Oh. Ah! Hold on. 4. We did it. That's the challenge. 4 Nike Air Jordan 4s. I also handcrafted a box for the book to sit in that replicated that of a Jordan sneaker box, and the book could only be opened by untying the shoelaces that were woven through the eyelets on the cover, to kind of emulate the full unboxing experience. I got an A++ for this elective. That's 100% by the way. Such a Taurus. But the real reward came from posting this project on my Behance and waking up the next morning to features from the likes of Hypebeast, High Snobiety, Nice Kicks, Sneaker News, to name a few. These were blogs that I followed religiously at the time. So I felt like a fucking celebrity, basically. And I had requests from people all over the world asking me where they could buy the book. Some guy offered me $350 for it. And I kind of thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if more than one of this book did exist and I could publish it? But, before I'd even breathed in the direction of attempting that goal, I had the premonition of potential failure, and you guys know the rest. So I kind of slept on that idea until I moved to Australia. I'd graduated uni, Bachelor of Design, and I was looking for a design job. And I sent this book to a sneaker publication, who shall not be named, for their sake, not mine, in the hopes of landing a design internship. And they didn't offer me an internship, but they did offer to publish the book. This was a magazine that I collected every issue of. Not only every issue, but almost every edition of every issue. You might call me a fan. So the prospect of my name next to theirs on a book cover kind of blinded me from all of the warning signs, none of which I would stand for today. I flew to meet with them. I handed over my one-off, A++, 100% book. I didn't sign a contract. No payment was discussed. And I let them control the project creatively, which saw me slaving over my Wacom for 2 years to illustrate a total of 276 sneakers at their request. And when I was finally done, they went ghost. I left voicemails, I sent texts, LinkedIn, Instagram, every single social media platform you could think of. And in the end, I was forced to revert to snail mail to send a letter requesting the safe return of my book. And it was obviously a blessing that this deal fell through. And to this day, this is 2015, to this day I still haven't heard from them. They're still very active, they still exist. And I didn't want an apology, I just really wanted an explanation, for the sake of closure. And because I never had that explanation, it kind of, the failure hit me really hard, and it resulted in a lot of meaning making. My idea's not good enough, and I'm not good enough. This all happened before I went to that self-development course, by the way. My love for sneakers and collecting sneakers dwindled, and my disposable income did. But my love for this book did not. And when I saw a similar kind of version, it was an ABC sneaker book by a kids' streetwear store in Brooklyn. I thought, damn, my idea for my book is all over the internet, and there's nothing stopping these guys or anyone else from taking this idea and putting their stamp on it. I couldn't copyright it because Nike would probably try and sue me. So I just had to make peace with the fact that they might take it. But with my shift in mindset over those 2 kind of pivotal years, I decided to, shoot my shot one last time, and I redesigned the book, this time as an EPUB, with the same core idea: 4 Nike Air Jordan 4s, 5 Nike Air Jordan 5s, 6 Nike Air Jordan 6s, and so on. In this case, I was showing up wanting $12.99 USD in return, so it was a transactional relationship in that sense, but I only sold 11 copies. I didn't really advertise it, and I was content with that. I'd been holding on to the idea for this book for so long that publishing even a digital version that 11 people saw was enough permission for me to just let go of it and be okay if it popped up somewhere a few years later. But this book had 9 lives. Oh, yes, she did. We Are Little Giants, that Brooklyn-based kids' streetwear store, the people that I had assumed to be the future thieves of my idea, and the people who had unknowingly pushed me into publishing this ebook, messaged me on Instagram and offered to make the book for real. This time with a contract, compensation, and creative freedom. Naturally, I redesigned and re-illustrated the whole thing because my illustration style had changed. And in the spring, 1-2-3s for the Little G's, which is the sequel to ABCs for the Little G's, will be releasing with We Are Little Giants, and will be stocked in some pretty cool stores in the US. It's going to print next week, so I don't have a physical copy to show you guys, and I did ask Ivan from We Are Little Giants to send me a photo of the proof, and it's like a 2 a.m. iPhone photo with like In-N-Out burger wrappers all around it, so I was like, I'm just going to leave it to your imagination, and when it comes out, then you'll see like a nice photo that Mitch can take for me. So now that my method of making failure mean nothing is really tried and tested for me, I try and apply this thinking to all of my goals. And when I hit a bump in the road, I ask myself, what does this actually mean? I said earlier, there is no one true meaning. So what am I going to make it mean? What would you wholeheartedly invest in if you believed that any failure you might experience actually meant nothing about you, your ability, or your potential? And you were able to focus on how success looks rather than what failure might mean for you, or for even the other people around you that are watching, this potential failure. I'd love for you to all think about the ending to the sentence, wouldn't it be cool if? What goals make your puku do backflips? Puku. This is your puku. When Samara, my friend at the back, she was helping me edit my talk, and she was like, no one knows what a puku is. This is Australia. So I was like, I'm just going to show you. It might be a goal that seems absolutely ridiculous and unattainable, but that is the key to good goal setting. If you set a goal that you could achieve today, tomorrow, the next day, you're copping out. It's not hard enough. Remember that we all have the same amount of hours in the day as Beyonce. And yeah, time, money, and talent might limit you from being Beyonce. But wouldn't it be cool if it didn't? The best way to keep yourself accountable for goals is to share them with other people. And generally, we don't share our goals with other people because then they'll know if we failed. But failure means nothing now, so we're cool. If you guys want to send me a goal that you're investing in, I'll keep you accountable by checking in with you 1 year from today. I've already set it in my calendar. It can be like a little goal time capsule. And in a year, I can either join in on celebrating with you, or I can just remind you that failure means nothing. I have an email starred in my inbox from one of my past speakers, Christian Stahl. He's the creative director at Clemenger BBDO in Brisbane. And he's also a lecturer at Award School. And so for those of you who don't know, Award School, it's pretty popular here. I think they have the biggest classes in Sydney, but it's a course if you want to become a creative director or a copywriter, and it basically helps you recognize or come up with good ideas. And when I graduated from Award, Christian sent me an email. It says, "Hey Jacinta, I was going to have a chat with you on graduation night, but got called away to fix a urgent fuck up as usual. I know you didn't win, but you were in the top books that we discussed winning. Your book was good, don't forget that, and this is just the start. When I applied for Award School the first time, I didn't even make the cut. I had to wait for a few years to eventually get in, and you already know the story about me doing shit during the course. So I just wanted to say, don't be disheartened by not winning. You were built for this industry. I was told on the night that I won that I should enjoy the moment now because I wouldn't ever do better than I had in Award School. Seriously, keep trying, and even though it's hard, never lose faith in yourself." And I just wanted to share this because someone told Christian Stahl, BBDO Clemenger creative director, that he would never be anything, and now he is one of the world's most awarded creatives. So basically what he's saying is, you're still a bad bitch, you're not dead yet, and if you ever need more of a reminder, you just channel your inner Zaza.
Cool, I'm set. Honey, you know my head is disrespect.
Thank you to all of today's volunteers, sponsors, attendees who embody the spirit of coming with the spirit of giving month after month. Thanks to you, this isn't us. Oh, you're so loud. Landmark. Has anyone been to Landmark? Show of hands. Have you been? No. You look like you knew about it, though. I know about it. Yeah. I'm sure you do. Yes, Landmark. And look, I was sent with Lululemon, who I was working for. They used to send all of their employees because the guy who started Lululemon in Canada, Chip Wilson, he actually attended Landmark, and then he had the idea for Lululemon. He was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it because life is empty and meaningless. And now, it's huge. And so they used to send all of their employees, and we got to go for free, which is really lucky because I think it's about $1,000 to go. But it is a very full-on course. It's 3 days. You're sitting in a room full of hundreds of people. They're telling you about all their trauma, and I'm just sitting here like, I just want to be a better designer. So, yeah, but I got something out of it. It's awesome. So, yeah. Yay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the question was, do I have a clear division between my personal work and my commercial work? So like I said, Mitch and I, we work together, and my personal work is stuff that's illustration based only, that he's not involved in. because we do everything else together basically that's not illustration. If illustration is in a job that we've got, then it will be intertwined. But other than that, it's a pretty clear division. But what Mitch and I kind of are working on at the moment is a project that is like our personal project, but basically is like a never-ending personal project that runs alongside our commercial work, so that we kind of get that fix, you know. But in terms of that, it's quite easy for us to go like, is this a job for Not Too Studio, or is this a job just for Mitch Reyes as the photographer, or, you know, Jacinta as the illustrator? It's quite easy in that sense for us to decide. Yeah. Yay. Yeah. 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 Very. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, when I met with, I almost said their name. Doesn't matter anyway. They're assholes. But when I met with them, I was a teenager. My mum was waiting outside the office literally, and I just didn't even like fathom thinking about money. Like I said, I was just blinded by the idea of collaboration. They literally said like, "This is great exposure for you," so like triggered, you know. But now, in this last year, we have that investment that we've done, that learning that we've done over the last year, has been mostly around talking to clients about money. Like, it is so hard for creatives to talk about money, and Chris Doe, who I showed, The Future is his kind of platform that he teaches creators how to talk about money, and that has been invaluable to us. Blair Enns, who I also mentioned, he wrote Pricing Creativity and Win Without Pitching. Those books are amazing. Like, just because there's no point in me reinventing the wheel. Like, just go and read those texts, because they are so incredible. What's another one? What's our favourite one? What's the Bible? No, and Creative Business and the, what is it? Anyway, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Yeah, Creative Strategy in the Business of Design. Yes. Yeah, there's so many amazing books. I reckon we have 5 books that we've read. Mitch has forced me to read them over and over and over and over again. And every single time we take something new from it. And it's just not being scared to talk about money. Really, you take the power back, and you're able to be a collaborator and not just be someone who this is how much I cost. You shouldn't be scared. When you think about how much time you've invested, how much money you've invested into your skills, years, that's how much you cost. If I think about, my degree cost 30 grand, why shouldn't you be projecting that value onto the client? You didn't learn it for free, Yeah. But anyway, I'll send you those books, because they're awesome. Yeah. One more, anyone? No, I think we're good. Oh, hey.
Where do you, with traction of the sneaker book now and the second publication, what's your aspirations to keep pushing it? Is it something you want to keep running down that path, or do you want to take it forward?
Yeah, I think I really have only just started thinking of myself as someone who could be paid for illustration. Illustration was always a fun thing. I did a small course in illustration at uni, but I'm not, I wouldn't say that I'm a trained illustrator or anything. So now I'm trying to get into the mindset of, I could actually do this. And I really like having something kind of separate from the design thinking, and it is kind of purely art. And so I would like to do more of that. And I think you know, I've said to Mitch, like, oh, I'm not an illustrator. And he's like, you've got a book that's coming out. Like, you're a published illustrator. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, I feel like that's validation for me to be like, oh, yeah, I could probably, like, say that I'm an illustrator now. So, yeah, I would love to. And I feel like once that's out, I'll kind of potentially get some opportunities, you know, coming up, which will be cool. But I need to definitely, like, set myself a practice of doing more. Because, you know, when we're talking about investing in ourselves, I'm like, oh, drawing is not investing in that skill, but I just have to do to learn. Yeah. Thanks.